We're live a little late, but we're live. Pardon me for the delay. Beats alternative, precisely. So here we are. We are learning a brand new mimer, which we started this week. It's called Nachamu Ami, which means comfort my people. This is a biblical prophecy from the book of Isaiah. It's recited to a nation battered, bruised, and broken from the destruction of our temple. And he says, this is 2,300 years ago. It was in 586 BCE, actually. It's a little longer than that, 2,800 years ago. He said, 2,500 years ago. He says, the comfort will still come. Can you imagine? During the Holocaust, he prophesizes that we're going to emerge. And it's going to be really good. It's going to be a double consolation. The question we began here today with was, what is the consolation? Why is it double? What is he talking about? This prophecy is the prophecy that we read on the Shabbos after Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is next week on Wednesday night and Thursday. It is the saddest day of the entire Jewish calendar. And the Shabbos after Tisha B'Av, commemorating the destruction of both of our temples, we read Shabbos Nachamu, the Shabbos of comforting, where we begin the Haftarah with Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, with these words, comfort, comfort my people. What we're about to talk about today is about this double sense of comfort. Why is there a double comfort? Why is there a double punishment? Why a double punishment? Why a double comforting? Because apparently there was a double sin. That's what we're going to be explaining. And the way that the previous Rabbi explains it, again, here's a picture of the previous Rabbi, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, the sixth Rabbi of Chabad, the father-in-law of our Rabbi. The way he explains it is that every single mitzvah that we do has a dual role. Let me ask you this question. Stephen, why do you do a mitzvah?
Why do you? Because...
What is the mitzvah?
Tzaddik, which is good.
Tzaddik, it's like a meritorious thing. It's like a good thing. Is that what you mean, tzaddik? Tzaddik means righteous.
Yeah.
So it's a righteous thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a righteous thing to do, but you need to do it. Is it an elective or is it something which is essential? You think it's essential? Either or. Why do you say it's essential, Andy?
Because it says so in the Torah.
So,
every commandment that
what?
The Torah says. So what? No, that's once you're connected to God,
it's an embrace. It's an
Then-
embrace to God.
well, if you
it's an
believe-
embrace. Oh, so he's going even deeper. Go ahead.
If you believe that the Torah is from God, then every word that's in it is something that we have to do. Positive commandments, negative commandments. Do them not because they make sense. Do them because He said so.
Wow, this is fascinating. So you're saying that if you believe in Torah, that Torah was given to us by God, right? Then God is not like just giving us just like an optional, suggestion.
Choose.
Yeah? This is not like, ballet, cheerleading, or mitzvahs. It's not like a third option. You're saying you got to realize this is coming directly from the CEO, right? If your boss asks you to do something, it's not optional. Now, Marty's saying even different. He's interpreting the word mitzvah as an embrace. The word mitzvah, Stephen, by the way, means a hug. Hug. It means connection, an embrace, an intimate. So when you do a mitzvah, you're actually connecting to God. Just like if someone from Wyoming would call me and say, Rabbi Vigler, could you do this for me? And I would do it, then I'd be connected to the guy in Wyoming. Right now, I'm not really connected to him. But if I did something that he asked me to do, then we'd be connected. So too, when we do a mitzvah from the master of the universe, the King of Kings, the creator, then when we do it, we're connecting to him, right? But on a more personal level, here is what happens every single time that we do a mitzvah. Because Marty, you're spot on. You're spot on about the mitzvah being a connection. But what is being connected? There's a dual impact that happens for every time we do a mitzvah. Whenever we do a mitzvah, there's the object and the person that are being impacted. The object that's being impacted, Judaism is a very physical religion, which actually has faced a lot of criticism from other faiths. Other faiths that are far more abstract, ethereal, and removed from this world. Some other religions actually look down upon Judaism. Think about this. They say, oh, Jews, how do we celebrate our holiest days? Think about this for a moment. How do we celebrate our holiest days? Is there ever any alcohol?
Not eating.
No, our holiest days. Once a year we don't eat. Seriously. Every other time we're stuffing ourselves. Okay. I mean, it's a mitzvah. The cholent and the kishke and the kugel and the other kugel, right? And the appetizer. Don't forget the wine and the alcohol. I mean, we're eating like there's no tomorrow, hey? Do you know what I mean? What? I mean, seriously, think about this for a moment. How much alcohol is there in a Jewish household, in a shul?
More than some, not as much as
I mean, there's serious, storages of alcohol.
More than you need.
You walk into a mosque. How much alcohol is in the mosque? I mean, it's illegal. There's not, I mean, think about this. Sex is prohibited for priests, right? In the Torah, it's the first mitzvah. I mean, how crass can you get?
That's why they love Jewish men.
But think about this for a moment. I mean, in Christianity, sexuality is considered like a human weakness. It's like a human failing. If you're a weak person and you can't control your desire, you're not good enough to become a priest. Okay, so go get a job and marry a woman, right? But if you're a real person, if you're like a priest, if you're elevated, I mean, think about that for a moment. It's interesting.
Priest to a rabbi.
Yeah, the rabbi, exactly. Bear priest or rabbi, right? I mean, whatever. Okay, so
There's a priest out.
that's right. So that's just an interesting contrast. What about some Eastern religions that are into like fasting and are into like not speaking? You heard about this guy? You heard about this Jew who he lands up in an ashram. One of these Eastern ashrams. He's there for this ashram. The rule is you're only allowed to say you're not allowed to say 2 words once a year. When you meet the guru, you go to the guru, you stand in line for a day and a half. You meet the guru, you're allowed to say only 2 words. The rest of the year, you're only fasting. You're a verbal fast. So the Jewish guy, Morris Rabinowitz, he's from Manhattan. He's looking for something a little bit more meaningful to his life. He lands up in this ashram in this impronounceable city of India. Yeah. So there he is. Well, Tibet, India, it's debatable what it's called. Anyway, so he gets up there and he gets his 2 words. He goes up to the guru and he says, food cold. Food cold. The guru dismisses him. Comes back a year later and he says, bed hard. Bed hard. That's what he says. The bed is hard. The 3rd year gets up there and he says, I quit. So the guru says, no surprises. You haven't stopped complaining since you got here. So listen, as Jews, we're known for talking. We talk a lot. We get together. It's Shabbos. We fabrang. We talk. We let our hearts roll. See, think about Judaism is a very physical religion. How do you celebrate Sukkot? You become an agriculturalist. You're getting your lulav, your esrog, your myrtle, your willow. Comes Pesach, everybody becomes a baker and a pyromaniac. We're making fires. We're burning the chametz. What?
It's a mouth thing.
Pesach, exactly. Pesach means to talk. Pesach, the word means talking mouth, right? Think about every Jewish holiday. Comes Sukkot, we all become engineers, architects, designers, interior designers. We become builders. We're building a sukkah where we're chopping palm branches. We're running to the emergency room for the prickly things that hit us. The palm fronds. Every Jewish holiday, Hanukkah, again, we're pyromaniacs. Comes Shavuos, we stay up all night with heavy caffeine, right? We're becoming caffeinated all night long. Simchas Torah, we're drinking to inebriation. Purim, same thing. I mean, every Jewish holiday, it's very, very earthy. Why is it that way? The reason is because God didn't put us in this world to become angels. God put us in this world so that everything we touch will turn to light. Or Lagoyim in the prophecy of the Tanakh, I think it's Isaiah, a light unto the nations. What does it mean, a light unto the nations? Does that mean they're going to march with BLM in San Francisco? Does it mean you're going to march with Martin Luther King somewhere in Washington? That's not what it means. Tikkun olam means repairing the world. Repairing the world doesn't mean standing up for LGBTQ. That's not what it means. Tikkun olam means fixing the world. What's broken about the world is the darkness in which it is entrenched. That's what's broken with the world, that there's spiritual slumber going on. I want to give you an example of your relationships, right? You could be in a marriage. You could have married the woman of your dreams, but you're unhappy. Why are you not happy? Many marriages end in divorce. What's the rate? 50%?
Over now.
Over 50%. So that's pretty high. 60%?
That's handsome.
It's a little disturbing, right? I would say in the Orthodox Jewish community, it's very low. It's a good thing. I think it's like under 10%. It's like really, really crazy low. So what is it that you're in a marriage, you married the woman of your dreams, but you're still unhappy? Why are you unhappy? What are you unhappy about? And you go to a psychiatrist, you go to a psychologist who explains to you the trauma of your abuse of your early childhood, your family of origin, and things start making sense. You realize that you had a teacher that would verbally assault you, verbally insult you in front of your friends. I have a guy, there's a guy in our shul that he was as a kid, he was performing in a play. And as he got up to say his lines for the Hebrew school play, 70 years ago, he forgot his lines. He blanked out. So the teacher berated him in front of the class or in front of the stage. I don't know in front of who, to the point that this man, to this day, cannot speak in public. He cannot open his mouth in front of more than 2 or 3 people. He's traumatized, right? So when you realize that there was a teacher or someone that verbally assaulted you, accosted you, abused you, 75 years ago, now you realize, oh, so that's why my wife is making me miserable, not because she's a bad person, but because I am wounded. And it's like when you touch a boil, it hurts, right? Not because she did something wrong, but because you have a boil here. You just didn't realize that you have a boil. When you touch it, it hurts, right? It's not that you need to get divorced. It's just that you need therapy, right? So what just happened in that marriage is that you became conscious. You're like, oh, okay. We two, in the same analogy, in the analog, we live in a world where we're struggling to find our own happiness. Bad things happen to good people, and we're like, what was that for? Right? Weird stuff happens. Anti-Semitism. We have terrible stuff happening to little children. Good people are suffering. And we're like, well, why? But imagine we would be spiritually conscious, like you might be psychologically conscious when it comes to your marriage or your parenting, right? You're like, oh. If you knew, imagine you realized that this person that just died at 3 years old was the reincarnation. In a previous lifetime, they were a person that the last 3 years of their life lived in sin. And they needed to come back for 3 years of purity. Imagine you knew that. You'd be like, oh, so now I understand the kid at 3 years old passed away because I guess they finished their job in this world. I mean, that kind of would make sense to us, right?
It's still hard to.
Okay, but would it make sense? Well, you'd be like, okay, I see the bigger picture. We're just spiritually blind. We're just in the dark. Tikkun Allah means to repair the world, to bring a sense of spiritual consciousness and awareness to this world. By the way, this is what the era of Mashiach is all about. When we talk about the Messiah and the ultimate redemption, the coming of Mashiach, what we're talking about is a state of divine awareness. As we read in this actual Haftarah, that then it says the glory of God will be revealed and all fleshly eye will see that God has spoken. You'll be able to see the presence of God and the ways of God like you can see stuff around you in a physical sense, right? So what happens is that whenever we touch a physical object, you're supposed to sanctify it, to bring into it a sense of spiritual consciousness. And that's why we Jews have such a physical religion. Because what we do is, you got a cell phone. What are you going to do with a cell phone? You're going to study Torah with it, with your rabbi? Oh, you've just sanctified it. You're going to use it to read emails about the Parsha of the week. You're going to watch YouTube with Rabbi Vigler teaching YouTube, right? Right, Daniel, the trucker, yesterday told us that 4 times he watched the previous mimer, right? And he's wearing tzitzis. Isn't that amazing? His computer is sanctified. It's on fire. He's growing a beard, right? So his computer's like spiritually sanctified. His YouTube account is holy. Think about it. It's his channel to consciousness. When you buy a house, you think you're moving to Orlando by mistake. You think you're moving to Orlando because your boss wants you to move there. You move into Orlando because your soul is connected to that real estate in Orlando. And there's mitzvahs that you need to perform there. Putting up a mezuzah on the door is not just like an optional thing. It's not a righteous thing, even like you said. It's the reason that you're going there. Let me give you a little story to explain. So there was besides, it's also protection, different layers of interpretation, right? There was a chassid, a disciple of one of the Chabad Rebbes. He was a businessman. He was a wealthy businessman in Russia. And he came into a private audience of this Rebbe. And the Rebbe said to him, I think you should move to Siberia. and you should invest in the railway tracks because it's a lucrative opportunity for business to build the railway tracks through Siberia. So the guy was like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not moving to Siberia. Imagine I told you, Marty, I think you should move to Mississippi, right? So, so he was like, thanks, or no thanks. A few weeks or months later, gets arrested for I don't know what. It didn't take much to get arrested in Russia. And guess what? He finds himself being transported in a train to Siberia. And then it dawned upon him what the Rebbe had said to him. He said that I could have gone to Siberia in first class, and I ended up going in not in stowage, but I went in the prison transport, right? What the Rebbe was telling me, not that he was giving me business advice, that the Rebbe was giving me, he saw my destiny. The Rebbe is like a prophet, like a seer, who was able to see my destiny, and he must have sensed that I had a mission to fulfill in Siberia. And that's why he urged me to go to Siberia. But me, like a fool that I was, I turned down the suggestion, not realizing who I'm talking to. Not realizing I'm talking to a Rebbe, right? When a Rebbe tells a Chassid to do anything, today, think about it. Like if a Rebbe would tell Chassidim of today, I think you should move to Antarctica. It's like, no questions asked, let's fly, and we're going. You read many, many stories about this because we're inculcated and ingrained with this awareness of who this directive is coming from. So in the same way, I just want you to realize that Me'ashem it's what?
That was my point with the mitzvah.
That what?
That's if God said so, even more so than the Rebbe, it's your destiny. You do it because you're supposed to.
Exactly. That's your destiny. Oh, so we do a mitzvah. I'm going to get that in a second. So back to what I was saying here is that Me'ashem Tzadik Ever Kinanu says in the book of Psalms of David, the footsteps of man are directed by God. Footsteps of man are directed by God. You don't go where you go because you wanted to go there. You go where you go because your soul senses your destiny and draws you there. You see what I'm saying? Why I landed up in Palm Beach and why you coming from New Jersey and you didn't move to San Diego, but you moved rather to South Florida. Philly, right? So why is that? Because that's where your soul senses its destiny. And what we need to do is to be able to be conscious enough to be able to do mitzvahs over there, because when we do the mitzvahs over there, we're not just doing an act of righteousness. We're actually fulfilling our purpose. The entire reason why our soul descended to this world from the highest heavens, from beneath the heavenly throne, we're on a mission. We've been dispatched on a mission to be able to make this world fixed. Every physical object that we touch has got to be used for a mitzvah. You got money, you earned money, 10%, you got to give to charity. You got married, there's laws of marriage. Certain times you're allowed to be together, certain times you're not allowed to be together. You bought a house, use it for Torah study, put up a mezuzah on the door, make sure the kitchen's kosher, keep the laws of family purity in the bedroom, right? Make sure that your dining room is a place of wisdom, of Torah wisdom, and not just Netflix, right? Make sure your living room is used for mitzvah purposes, which bring divine presence into your home instead of bringing Leonardo DiCaprio into your home, right? It's a big difference, right? So, there's a great story of two salesmen, shoe salesmen, who was sent to a Caribbean island, to Reunion Island. You know what Reunion Island is? Reunion Island. It's one of the most dangerous islands on earth. I think 12% of shark attacks take place at Reunion Island. It's in the middle of absolutely nowhere. It's like it's just east of Madagascar. It belongs to France. More sharks over there than anybody else. So these two salesmen, they go to Reunion Island, middle of nowhere. And after 2 weeks, the first guy sends a telegram, an email back to the company. He says, I'm quitting. Nobody here wears shoes. I'm quitting. Same day, the other salesman says, send me all the inventory, ASAP. Nobody here wears shoes. Right? You're a salesman, right? See the difference? One guy surrenders to the reality, the other is excited to change it. So because our souls descended to a world where nobody wears shoes, souls, there you go, souls. We're shoemakers, right? We're we're
True
shoemakers.
It's play on words.
Yeah, of course. SOUL. Sharp. So because our souls were descended to this world where people are spiritually indifferent, you got a choice. You could either be the weak salesman that says, nobody here wears shoes. Or you can say, nobody here wears shoes. I've got so much work to do. I'm so excited. I don't know where to even start. Start with one at a time. You start with a mezuzah on your door. You laid tefillin today. That was beautiful. You raised the Torah for the first time. That was awesome. Was that the first time? Amazing. So that's what we're going to go in this discourse. I'm sorry we ran out of time over here. We're going to go in this discourse to the double constellation is because of a double sin. That when the Jewish people sinned, what the sins that led to the destruction of our temple, they were a sin that the first part of the sin was that they neglected to fulfill their mission on this earth, which was regarding the objects with which we engage in the mitzvahs. Later on, in the next lesson, we'll learn about the second part, the second impact of a mitzvah, which is not on the object engaged, but the impact upon yours truly, upon the person doing the actual mitzvah. We'll carry on Tuesday. Hopefully on Tuesday. All right? I'm not sure. Hopefully. All right, folks. If you have any questions, comments, or critiques, send me an email to rabbi@jewishgardens.com. That's rabbi@jewishgardens.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/jewishgardens.com. youtube.com/jewishgardens. That's our channel. Subscribe. Thank you, guys. Have a great day, everybody. Shalom. Steve.